Alright, now we're gonna work on the back interior. So go ahead and cut 2 interior pieces exactly the same size as the exterior pieces. First, we will work on the vinyl slip pocket. So go ahead and cut a piece of clear vinyl fabric. This is a gauge 8 clear vinyl that I got from Amazon. Cut a 3-inch strip to bind the top edge of the vinyl. Fold the long edge of the strip towards the wrong side about 1/2 inch and then press. Then go ahead and fold the strip in half, wrong sides together, just like that, and then press. Insert the top edges of the vinyl into the fold of the binding strip. Go all the way into the fold until the edges of the vinyl is touching the edges of the fold line, and then clip them in place. Once everything is secured, go ahead and stitch along the lower edges of the binding. You may sew with 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch of seam allowance, whichever one's more comfortable for you. My walking foot handled this vinyl fabric very well. You may also use Teflon foot. Now lay the vinyl fabric on the right side of one of the lining fabric, aligning the sides and the bottom edges. Place a few clips to secure them. We're gonna divide this pocket into 3 slots. So you want to measure 6.5 inch from both side edges and then draw a straight stitch line. So the way I like to do this is by using my Hera marker. So here I've already aligned my ruler at 6.5 inch point. So I put enough pressure so I can see the crease line. You can't really see it from the camera though, but there is a straight crease line there that I can use as my stitching line. So go ahead and stitch this right away. Repeat the same to the opposite side. And then stitch right away. And then stitch the sides and the bottom with 1/4 of an inch of seam allowance. Next, we're gonna work on the zipper pocket. So go ahead and grab the second lining fabric. Fuse the wrong side of the lining with a little bit of interfacing. So you want to position the interfacing about 6 inches down from the top edge. Center the position. Now you want to prepare the inner pocket piece, and then you want to fuse the wrong side of the inner pocket piece with a little bit of fusible woven interfacing. Fuse the interfacing about 1/2 inch down from the top. Now we're going to work on the zipper template. So go ahead and draw a rectangle measuring 8 inch by 3/8 of an inch. And just like before, you want to draw a line on the center and draw the corner triangles as well. And you want to draw the template about 1 inch down from the top edge. Lay the inner pocket piece on the right side of the lining piece, about 5.5 inch down from the top edge of the lining. And of course, you want to center the position. Now go ahead and pop a couple of pins to secure them in place, and then stitch along the outer line of the template. Cut through the center line and the corner triangles as well. And of course, you want to be careful not to cut through the stitches when you get to the corner. Now turn the pocket piece towards the wrong side and then press. And once you've done that, you can prepare the zipper. You will need at least an 8 inch long zipper. Since I found my basting tape, this time I'm gonna use my basting tape to baste the zipper. Here I've already applied them along the edges of my zipper tape. Now I'm gonna go ahead and place my template on top of my zipper, of course centering the position of my zipper teeth, and then press to make sure that the zipper is sticking to the fabric. Then go ahead and stitch all around. Alright, now you can trim off any excess zipper and then fold the pocket piece in half, meeting the short edges together just like so. Then sew along the sides and the top with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. And that's it, our interior zipper pocket is done. For the zipper closure, we're gonna use the purse size zipper. This is a slightly larger size zipper. The width is about 1¼ inch. And for this project, you will need the zipper to be at least 21 inches long. And then trim the zipper to measure exactly 20 inches long. So get rid of those metal zipper stops as well. Now we're going to work on the zipper tabs, so go ahead and cut 2 little rectangles. Fold the long sides in half and then give this a quick press. And then position that along the edges of the zipper, aligning the raw edges of the zipper tabs with the edges of the zipper. And then stitch along the folded edges with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Trim off the excess zipper tabs. Now lay the front exterior piece right side up and then lay the zipper right side down. And then lay the lining piece, the one with the vinyl pocket, right side down. And of course you want to align all the edges. Clip them in place and then go ahead and sew with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Alright, now you want to open the sandwich and then press the seams, both the exterior and the interior as well, and then top stitch. Now lay the back exterior piece right side up and then lay the zipper panel right side down and then lay the lining right side down, clip them in place and then sew with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Again, you want to open the sandwich and then press the seams, then top stitch. Now separate the lining from the exterior fabric, right sides together. Now we're gonna sew the bottom base, so I'm gonna start from the lining first. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna lay the bottom base and the lining right sides together, just like that. So the bottom panel should be facing towards the inside of the interior. Clip them in place and then sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Alright, so you should end up with something like this. Now sew the opposite side of this bottom panel to the back lining piece, right sides together obviously. This time though, you want to leave about 4 to 5 inches of opening to turn this piece inside out later. So you should end up with something like this, and here is the opening hole. For the exterior bottom panel, you want to apply foam stabilizer to the wrong side. Now, if you've got double-sided fusible foam like I do here and you wonder how can I fuse this to only one side, what you can do, you can sandwich this with a freezer paper to the other side. And once you've done fusing it, you can peel the freezer paper off and you're good to go. So we're gonna sew this pretty much the same way we did with the interior. So I'm going to start by sewing the bottom base to the front exterior. So here I'm laying them right sides together, pin them in place, and then we're going to go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Alright, now we're going to sew the other side to the back exterior, and of course with 1/2 inch of seam allowance as well. Now let's turn this piece inside out through the opening hole. So you should end up with something like this. Now turn the bag wrong side out through the zipper. Now before we jump into the final assembling of the bag, I'm gonna brief you a little bit about the adjustable strap. For this project, I use webbing strap 1 inch wide. However, feel free to use wider strap if you want to. Cut your webbing strap about 60 inches long and use the typical adjustable strap hardwares. Now I'm not going to show you in detail on how to install them since I've shown this so many times in different videos. However, if you are new and you need the tutorial on how to install the hardwares, I'm going to link a partial of my older video where I demonstrated how to install the hardwares for the webbing adjustable strap. So you can go ahead and check that out. The link should be in the description box and in the pattern as well. Now we're going to attach the side panels to the bag. So this process is pretty straightforward and quite intuitive as well. So grab your side panel and you wanna position that to the side of the bag with the right side of the panel facing towards the right side of the bag. First, you want to match the top center point of the side panel with the center point of the bag, which is where the zipper closure is. And then clip, and then continue clipping towards the side. Match the bottom corner of the side panel to the bottom seams of the bag. Now, obviously, your fabric should have a little bit of give to it. So if you need to stretch ever so slightly to accommodate a little differences, you can do so. Although technically the side panel should match the side of the bag, but not all of us always 100% accurate, me included. Another way you can make up for difference is by playing around the bottom corner. So make a little pleat at the bottom corner of the bag or the side panel, whichever one ended up to be a slight bigger. Now the key is to do the same to the opposite side. This way it will look intentional. Once everything is secured, go ahead and sew all around with 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Now as you get to the corner, it may get a little tricky, but it is quite forgiving. So just do the best that you can to get it stitched through. It doesn't have to be super perfect. Alright, so the first side panel is already sewn. Now I'm gonna go ahead and work the same with the other one. And here I've already sewn both of my side panels. I like to turn this inside out at this point just to see how my bag is looking so far. Alright, now we're gonna do the most exciting part of this project, which is binding the raw edges of the side of the bags. So go ahead and prepare a package of pre-made bias tape. I used the 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. So go ahead and do your preferred binding method, or you can follow what I do here. First, I like to use my scissors and curve the corner a little bit. This way I don't have to stop and do the mirrored corner. Now open the fold of the bias tape and then align the edges of the bias tape to the raw edges. I started from the bottom center. Leave about a couple inches tail for overlapping later, and then stitch along the fold line crease of the bias tape. Now when you are approaching the corner, you want to stop for a bit and then grab your scissors and then snip the edges of the bias tape. Don't go over the crease line though. Again, the corner can be a bit of a pain to go through, but it is doable. Again, it doesn't have to be super perfect since this is also the inside of the bag and you will hardly see the binding. Stop stitching about a couple of inches away from the starting point. Now we're gonna overlap the binding strip by 1/2 inch. So here I've got my sewing gauge and I'm going to measure 1/2 inch from the edges of the lower bias tape, and then I'm going to mark that 1/2 inch point and then cut. Now I'm going to open both bias tape and lay them right sides together, just like that, and then stitch with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance of about 1/4 inch, and then you can finger press the seams open and then continue stitching the remaining. Alright, now I'm gonna go ahead and fold my binding towards the opposite side and then clip all around and then stitch all around to finish the binding. I'm sewing from the same side where I started, about 1/8 inch from the inner edges of the binding. And of course you wanna make sure that you are catching the binding on the opposite side. And again, since this is gonna be sitting in the wrong side and you hardly gonna see the binding, don't worry so much about making it look super perfect. And here I've already finished binding both sides of my bag. Now let's go back to the bottom and find the opening hole. So you want to fold the raw edges towards the inside about 1/2 inch and then sew along the edges to close the opening. So your bag is pretty much done at this point. So you can go ahead and turn this inside out and then attach the strap, and voila! To make the strap cushion, you can go ahead and watch the part 3 of this duffel bag series.